We're here with Andrew Yang, founder of Venture for America. Thanks for joining Nations.
Well, thanks for having me, Greg.
Tell us a story behind the founding of the VFA and what brought you to it.
So when I graduated from college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I became a corporate attorney here in New York. Found also that corporate law wasn't a great fit. So I left to co-found an illfated.com in the first bubble. And that had its mini rise and maximum fall through 2001. But I knew that I wanted to get better. So what I did is I apprenticed myself to a series of entrepreneurs over a 5 or 6 year period, ended up the CEO of a test prep company called Manhattan GMAT. So you realize that it is possible to learn how to develop a company and build it, and then realizing that there needed to be a bridge that connected the talent to the need.
What about this opportunity seized you and moved you to do it?
I saw this as the biggest problem to solve that was out there. There was so much talent being produced throughout the country each year, and I had this conviction that it was being underutilized.
So why do you think that's been? All these smart, hopeful, and inspired people graduate college. What was missing? Well,
what I think has happened, and it's totally natural, is that our economy and our society have evolved to a point of intense specialization. So you end up with many more people going to law school, medical school, business school, and the result is what we're seeing, where they converge certain fields, certain industries, and certain cities.
Part of what you guys do is you don't just place talented young people in companies. You look for cities that are maybe having a hard time. How much of that facet of what you guys do and the mission do you think appeals to young people?
We think it brings the right sort of young person to our doorstep. They have a sense of mission, sense of purpose. They want to have an impact in a community that's bigger than themselves. And obviously, I have many friends who are in startups in New York, Silicon Valley. I mean,
they're great too. For example, we happen to be a New York area.
Sure, I like you a great deal.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the things that's said about people in their low to mid 20s, it's the me generation, a little bit like selfish. Are you finding that?
Well, I actually think that many of them have integrated a sense of purpose into what they imagine for themselves professionally. What constitutes a good job is different these days. It's around building something, it's around working with a team of people that you respect and admire, it's around trying to solve a collective problem or achieve a collective goal.
What's the end game for what you guys have accomplished? It's young, but if you're to sort of envision a legacy.
My goal is not that everyone goes to work for a startup, because that's simplistic and not realistic.
Right.
My goal is that people do that which they're wired to do. So that if someone genuinely wants to build an enterprise of value, that they're doing that in Detroit or Cincinnati or New Orleans or wherever.
Interesting. So presumably the VFA is part of that solution, but presumably there are also other elements to it. There's the way that secondary education organizes itself. There's policy reforms. Can you speak to some of those different elements that need movement in order to achieve the vision?
A lot of what happens with young people and the choices they make is determined by the options they're presented and by the resources that are brought to bear, making their next steps possible. In the US, if you graduated from a national university, like I did, or you did and many others, there's around an 89% chance that you've done nothing but go to school except for your summers by the time you're 22.
Right.
So if that's your system of training, then what's like the natural next step? The natural next step is to find the next
institution that you jump into. Yeah,
because all you've done at that point is go through institutions. If we want to change this, what we need to do is introduce some institution time somewhere in there, either a gap year between high school and college, something to break up the current set of environments.
Why does the country need this right now? Why is VFA so vital?
The spirit of enterprise that's built this country is right now, in our view, flagging a little bit, in part because of the evolution of our economy and the structural forces that have come into play. The proportion of Americans, for example, that work for companies that have 500 people or less has been declining over the last couple of decades. And these small companies are the ones that are the most economically productive in terms of patents and growth and job creation.
Right.
And so if we want more of our talent to be founding these growth companies or startups that are going to help drive opportunities over the next generation, we have to help make it so. We can't simply, like close our eyes, put our hands under our seats and say, nature will take care of it for us.
Andrew, it's been a thrill to have you here with Nationswell, and wish you a lot of luck.